Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here in lesson 5 of A Course in Miracles. And this is a really wow one. I remember legit the first time I read it. I remember exactly where I was at this cafe in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands. And it just it just blew my mind. So it says, I am never upset for the reason I think. I think that bears repeating. I am never upset for the reason I think. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate to you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises of the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they are all the same. When using the idea for today for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank for the reason I think. I am not afraid of blank for the reason I think. But again, this should not be substituted for practice periods in which you first search your mind for sources of upset in which you believe and forms of upset which you think result. In these exercises, more than in the preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than others. It might help to precede the exercises with this statement. There are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. Then examine your mind for whatever is distressing you, regardless of how much or how little you think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think first of this. I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give to them. Apply the idea for today to each of them using the name of both the source and the upset as you perceive it, and of the feeling as you experience it. Further examples are, I am not worried about blank for the reason I think. I am not depressed about blank for the reason I think. 3 or 4 times during the day is enough. I just love the language in A Course in Miracles. I love how direct it is. I love how it's so authoritative. It's so like, boom, this is just the way it is. I can appreciate that structure. And given our minds are so powerful and given our minds have been so inundated and affected and shaped and essentially programmed in thought systems that we do not ultimately value on the inside. We've been affected by our families, the cultures that we were raised in, the religions that we were given or not given, the television shows that we've watched or even just been around people that are watching these shows, and now we're affected by it because we're all in this thing together. Um, I think I said schools, work environments, professional experiences, we are programmed. Our minds are getting structured in a way that is not truly authentic. We, in a sense, have adapted ourselves. We have created these adapted personalities. And so it can be a little bit disconcerting to, in the last lesson, it was like your thoughts are make believe, these thoughts don't mean anything. And now we're saying, I'm not upset for the reason I think I am. There could there could be this feeling of like, but I've shaped my personality around these ideas. Who would I be if I wasn't angry about this? Or, who would I let off the hook if I wasn't upset at them for the reason that I think I am? Do you know what I'm saying? We often value being right rather than being happy. And the Course in Miracles is inviting you to value your happiness, your peace, your joy, your contentment more than your ideas. So this one, I am never upset for the reason I think is so challenging for all of us. I mean, me included. Having gone through many situations in my life, relationships fall apart, business ideas fall apart, arguments with family members, disagreements with children, uh, watching something happen at school, my children's school, that I'm like, well, I really don't like that. And then it causes this upset. And so it can be a challenge to approach these upsets that we see in our lives and say, this is not the upset that I think it is. I'm not upset for the reason I think it is. I am. And that's what we're trying to pull back this attachment from, this idea that I think I know what everything is about. When people say, well, this is just the way that I am, or I'm not like that, or I don't have that, negative quality, or it's causing separation. We are literally separating ourselves out by tagging these certain personality traits to ourselves or to others. This is about setting down the adapted personality, who you've become. And this includes spiritual knowledge, for sure, maybe even more so. We think that we're better, or we're isolated, or, no one else is working as hard at this as I am. Nobody understands me. It's all ego. It's all separation from self with a capital S, which is an idea in the mind of the divine. I am never, it's not I'm not, or I'm sometimes not. It's I am never upset for the reason I think. Now, some of us will take that and go, well, what is the reason then? I want to know. And then we'll dig around and try and get in and see it from all these different angles. The invitation here is to just set it down and not need to know. You're allowed to be upset. That is part of this journey of being a human. We live in the realm of contrast. So we often learn about what we don't want, or about what we do want, by experiencing what we don't want. I am never upset for the reason I think. So yes, you're entitled. If you are upset about something, you think you know the reason for it, you're super intellectualized about it, you can play back the stories and talk about all the wrong turns, and great. Kudos to you for discovering all of the things. I've done it myself. We do this. This is part of our adapted personality that is rooted in survival. And survival, on a spiritual level is just like this need to be right. This proving that you deserve to be here and you deserve to be seen and heard, etc. But beyond that is what we're looking at. I am never upset for the reason I think. So you can have your upsets. It is happening for you to purify. So if I'm not upset for the reason I think I am, I'm never, in fact, upset for the reason I think I am, then why am I upset? Okay, so then why are you upset? And watch how the mind wants to say because of her, because of him, or because of this, or because of that. Beyond that, there is an upset. Do I want the upset? And the answer is yes or no. And if it's no, then I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to set this down. I do not need to be upset by this. In that way, as we start to coach ourselves through upset, we create distance from the upset, from the thoughts that are creating the upset. Therefore, the feelings that are repercussions of the thoughts that are upsetting, and the thoughts and the feelings creating these behaviors of retaliation, of being defensive, proving, hiding, so forth. So that was a lot for today. I am never upset for the reason I think I am. I want to congratulate you for showing up. I think that's part of it, for challenging your adapted personality, for challenging your thinking mind. There can be a lot of resistance here because we have needed certain aspects of this thinking mind to keep us safe in this reality. But now you're placing your pennies on the powerful, creator, on that which is empowering you beyond the thinking mind. So getting very spacious and detaching ourselves from what the yogis call the modifications of the mind. These, if we do not learn how to stop the way the mind turns, then essentially we become the modifications of the mind. So careful when you want to label and you think you know. My yoga teacher used to say often, I'm the last to know what's going on. And that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of freedom in that. There's a lot of innocence in that. Like, this is happening. Okay, that's lesson 5. I will see you very soon for lesson 6. Keep at it. Practice this lesson. When you feel upset today, which you will, tell yourself, I am never upset for the reason I think I am. And then go back into this. I am not worried about this for the reason I think I am. I am not depressed about this for the reason I think. Remember, you can't be right about some things. You can't keep upset about some things and not about others. The Course in Miracles says a little bit of anxiety is the same as full-on rage. So there is only love and there is only fear. You can't have both at the same time. And so this is what we're learning to practice, of how to stay in the state of love for more and more stretches. When we find ourselves in fear, having tools, mantras, statements that we can challenge that adapted mindset. We can challenge it and we can say, maybe I don't need to listen to you right now. You can, and you can have those feelings and behaviors that come from that thought system. Or you can pause and go in another direction, clear the slate, and start to be informed by a higher intelligence rather than formed and attached and being in your thinking mind. Many blessings. See you soon.